everybody. Welcome to the Community Diversity Forum. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, my name is Tamoria Saba, and I'm the founder of the Hopkinton Diversity and Cultural Alliance. I would like to thank you all for coming tonight, and I would also like to give a special thank you to Dr. McLeod, our Superintendent of Schools, and also Denise Hildreth, the Youth and Family Services Director. The three of us have spent a lot of time together discussing ways to foster greater community connections, and we hope you enjoy the speakers we have this evening. To tell you a little bit about myself, I am a former celebrity makeup artist turned maternal health advocate. I know, crazy career change. But after the birth of my oldest daughter in 2010, I survived a near-fatal postpartum hemorrhage. It was then that I decided to explore resources for mothers and families to overcome mental and physical trauma after childbirth. This led me to becoming a maternal health advocate. I currently serve as the Boston Metro West Coordinator for Postpartum Support International, and I also run a support group at Milford Regional Medical Center called Emotional Wellbeing After Baby. I live in Hopkinton with my husband, Bob, who's there filming me right now, and our two daughters, who are ages 7 and 3. Our family relocated to Hopkinton from New Jersey in December of 2015. What we found here is a community that is welcoming, safe, and provides ample opportunities for residents to become involved in the things that matter to them, if they so choose. When most people hear the word diversity or the phrase diversity issues, they think, uh-oh, this must be a racial thing. And a lot of times they get nervous and scared to discuss the things that are happening in their lives. But of course, we often forget that diversity involves a lot of other words and phrases and just life circumstances, such as age, abilities, religion, gender, and socioeconomics. As Hopkinton continues to evolve, it is our goal to encourage residents to connect to one another and have open discussions about how they are affected by various types of diversity issues in our community. We want everyone to feel included in Hopkinton, which is a vibrant community. We want anyone who feels alone in any challenges that you're facing or that your family may be currently experiencing to know that you're not alone. You have the support of a community, school administrators, town officials, including the police and fire department, and of course Denise, our Youth and Family Services Director. We're all here to help you face any challenges that life throws your way. As you listen to our eclectic group of speakers this evening, you will realize that no matter how different we all may appear to be, we all want the same things: to have our lives validated, to be respected, and to all feel connected to one another. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Denise Hildreth. I'm the Director of Youth and Family Services for the town. And so I'm going to start just by sharing a little bit of personal information and by way of sort of representing for you the families that I work with. So those are a diverse group of families with diverse needs, but particularly the families that I want to talk about tonight are the families that face financial challenges, because I think that's a group that we often don't know about, or people who see the word Hopkinton with great schools and great neighborhoods assume we don't have people with financial challenges in town. So a little bit about my background and how I came to social work. And so this is the point where I get a little choked up. People who've heard me say this story, and I'm looking at Lynn because she was here the last time, and I go like, ugh. So I am a self-proclaimed townie. So I wear the proud badge of being a Hopkintonian kind of for life. But what most people don't know is that I actually am not really a townie. I kind of came here under the radar in 3rd grade, which for many people means you're actually not a townie, you're like something else. The way I came to town was my parents in Worcester got divorced, and one of the reasons they got divorced was my father's persistent mental illness. My mom had not been working, which was part of his mental illness. She got a job at Milford Hospital. And so we relocated from Worcester to Milford and then to Hopedale so that she could work and kind of take care of us. And so I grew up for a period of time with a single mom, and we really struggled. And by struggle, I mean she made, as an x-ray technician, just enough money to disqualify us for food stamps so that we basically shopped in the places where we could get the most for our buck. Some days she couldn't afford childcare, so I would sit in the x-ray tech lounge, kind of behind stuff, so people didn't know I was there, because that was a no-no and people wouldn't have wanted a kid in the hospital in the x-ray tech lounge. I became a Hopkintonian because my mom met a man who was a Hopkintonian. And I, again, kind of slid under the radar, came in 3rd grade with a different last name. And when my mom, again, another thing that happened was they kind of lived together without being married. So that was another thing that was kind of kept top secret in my family in the 70s. When they married, he adopted me, and I got the name of McBride, which is an old-time Hopkinton family. So I became a townie kind of under fraudulent circumstances, and without many people knowing my story, and with a lot of people not knowing, and now they know because it's on HCAM, that I actually had a dad before the dad that everybody knows to have raised me, who's done a fabulous job of kind of taking in this precocious, annoying little 5-year-old into his home with his teenagers. So I think one of the primary reasons why I became a social worker was kind of going through that with my mom and seeing how hard she worked and how we struggled, and really not wanting anybody to know that. You know, not wanting to be the kid who had a single mom, who then had a boyfriend, who then they got married. I just wanted to like wear the name of McBride and have nobody kind of know that background for me. And so this leads me into kind of some of the families that I work with. And I think, again, there's a misconception in Hopkinton that because we have so many wonderful resources, that there are no folks struggling financially here. And I can tell you that I'll just name a few scenarios for you. Grandparents raising grandchildren who had never intended to be in that position but are because families have broken up. People have lost their jobs, and most especially because the opioid epidemic has claimed lives of their children. So they're raising the little ones that are left in the wake of that. Struggling financially on limited income, not understanding the systems through which they can get extra support. Lots of hardworking poor people, so families where there are marriages, people are married, they're working at low-income jobs because they did not have the benefit of education that many of us have had. I know from my own situation, when we moved to Hopkinton, the #1 thing that changed my life was that my dad, that became my dad, owned a house. And the fact that he owned a house changed everything for us, because we were not struggling to find rent money. He had a mortgage that was paid off because he was a really good financial planner and lived within his means, and the fact that we weren't worrying about where we were going to live and how we were going to pay for the rent. So we have families in town living in subsidized housing, and I can tell you firsthand, not working the system, not trying to figure out a way to finagle something. They're working incredibly hard and meeting a lot of obstacles. So sometimes that means they get a job that's working out great, but they only have 1 car in the family. And so they're deciding, well, one of us has to get the kids to school, or the kid misses school, while the other person takes the car to work. Oh, and then maybe we have car repairs that prevent us from having a car at all. Can the school system help us with a ride? I have every imaginable scenario of people in financial need, and again, working incredibly hard amidst that. Some people are here in our subsidized housing because they're from war-torn countries, or countries where natural disasters have left them without a home, and they've been resettled here. These are our community members, and again, I think part of what's difficult for them is not wanting other people to know what their story is. They want to just go to preschool and not have people know that they have had assistance with getting backpacks or crayons or rides to school or a car seat or a car or help when the rent is tight or Easter baskets. We have an incredibly generous community of people, and I have both a sort of above boards and an underground group of folks that I can call and say, hey, this family's not going to have Easter baskets. I don't know if you guys can help out at all. And there are people that step up every single day, so I'm incredibly blessed to have all of those opportunities, but I think it's incredibly important for all of us to realize that just because this community is perceived as a place of great resources, and for most of us it is, we have a growing number of people that are at financial risk, and they're just like us. And so I share my own story just to say, they are me, they are us, they could be you. So I really want people to be aware that they exist, and with the hope of destigmatizing the fact that some people are struggling financially, and that they can feel as welcome and as a part of our community and as able to participate fully in all of the resources we have here as anybody else. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Aman Hydri, and I have two daughters. One daughter graduated last year from high school, and other daughter's right there, she's in 8th grade. When my family and I moved to Hopkinton 11 years ago, of course we moved for the fantastic schooling, the scenery, the lakes, but I'll be honest that we were pretty reluctant to move to this community, coming from our background, we're mostly used to living in our smaller communities, and all of a sudden this was almost all white neighborhood, very affluent, and we weren't sure that if it would be welcome or not. But we took that risk. And I must say that in a very short time, we were really, really touched by a lot of people from all walks of lives. There were the Jewish community, the Christian community, Muslims, Hindus, they all came and supported us. And that was really a turning point in our life, and we've been here for many years. And I don't think we've ever sort of felt or seen any sort of resentment, nothing racist, or we've just lived always in harmony. But I must say, and I hate to come to the next topic, but unfortunately in the last 1 year or so, we have seen a shift in attitude. And I've sensed, I had a problem at work too. I was profiled. My daughter was also indirectly called a terrorist in high school, right in this high school. Right? But this nation, this America, Massachusetts, Hopkinton, we were just based on values of compassion and humanity, bringing people together, welcoming. But unfortunately, we're seeing that going away, and it's coming to a town level too, unfortunately. At least that's the way how I see it. We've seen things that we've never seen before. We've seen, pick up the papers, we see it in the newspapers, we see synagogues being attacked, churches being burned down, mosques being attacked. We see people being harassed randomly in the streets, swastika signs being painted all over. This is not what we are about, and as a community, I don't think anyone represents that. So what really surprises me is people even sort of turn a blind eye, and we're not doing enough to bring change. So the big question is, what can we do? I believe that the three main things that I've always told my kids and my family is we have to create awareness. Awareness starts from home, awareness starts from schools, and we have to widen the circle. We have to reach out to our neighbors, our friends in the communities, and that's how the trickle effect starts. The teachers in schools do a fantastic job teaching the foundations and the values of a child. But what I feel is the main foundations are built by the parents at home. And it is our responsibilities, all of our responsibilities, to teach our children, educate them, teach them about different traditions, about different religions, about different ethnicities, foods, anything. And that's where the starting point is. We have lived almost already half of our life, but it's the next generation that we have to concentrate on, and that's what's going to make a change. I had a lot of notes, but it's going to carry on and on. But I think the most important thing is taking initiative. anything, initiative, anything. And that's where the change starts. And for example, I'll give you a couple examples. There's a mosque in Hopkinton, and this mosque has been here probably for over 10, 15 years. The doors have been closed to the community, they're for their own little service, never invited anyone. And one day the priest came up to me and he said, Man, we need to start opening doors to the community, having people come in. I thought it was a bad idea. I was like, you know what, let's just leave it the way it is. I don't know what kind of reaction we're going to get. But he really forced me. He said, no, let's see what happens. So 2 years ago, we opened the doors. We invited the community, and Denise was actually the first, first invitation was sent to Denise. And that initiative that we took just brought in all the community at our mosque. And it started spreading to the churches and to the temples. And so much so that we had interfaith programs coming. But what did it take? It took that one initiative to start. Another example that I often give my friends is there's a Reverend Gordon Schultz of St. Paul's. He's a terrific guy. He's a good friend of mine. And he called me one day. He said, there's a member of our church. He's Islamic phobia. He's like Muslims. He wants dead, blah, blah, blah. But we have to change him somehow. He said, I've tried talking to him so many times, but he doesn't seem to listen. My first thought was, you know what? I don't deal with him. I was like, I have enough problems of my own, and that's the last thing I want to deal with. But again, it took me a couple of days, and I called him back. I said, you know what? Bring him over. Let's see if we can try to change his thought. So if we can change him, he'll probably pass on the message. But anyway, make a long story short, we invited him to our mosque. He sat down with our priest. Gordon was there, I was there. And we spoke to this gentleman for 4 hours. He left a very happy man. And he comes at every event we have in the mosque. And so much so that he helps us even fold chairs at our mosque. Right? But what I'm trying to say, it's that one initiative that we have to take to make a change. It's tough, And going back to starting this whole chain, I think it's very important that not yesterday, but today and right now, we have to start this chain of reaching out to people, getting everyone included. When I was here, I think there was just a handful of minority families living in Hopkinton, but you're seeing the growth in Hopkinton. It's widening, but like people, how they reached me and brought me out from and got me into the community. That is what our responsibility is, to reach out and get everyone, no matter where they're from and no matter who they are. It's very important that we have to get everyone mingled. And I think I'll end it by saying that it's platforms like this, and I really thank everyone who ever organized this program, that we need more platforms like this, starting in schools, starting in towns and states, and we have to start this at grassroots levels. There's a great attendance over here, but if you can take this message back to home, and that's how we're going to start this trickle effect. So I'll end it over here. Thank you for your time.
Hi everyone, my name is Marlon Marasco, and I am a Down syndrome parent influencer, a speaker, a blogger. I'm also the president of the Hopkinton CPAC, which stands for Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, and I'm also a member of the Hopkinton Diversity Cultural Alliance. Just so you know a little bit about me, I am not a Hopkintonian. I don't even know if I said that right. But I do have a son in 4th grade here at Hopkins. But for people that know me, I jump right in. And so we've only been here for 2 years. But I wanted to share with you why your voice matters. Basically, I'm just take very personal thoughts here. I still remember how I felt the day my son was born, March 22nd, 2006. I was excited, I was nervous, and honestly, I was scared. All the years of volunteering for Special Olympics could not prepare me for the reality right in front of me. My son has Down syndrome. But why was I so scared? He was beautiful. He was perfect in so many ways. But all I could think about was, how were we going to care for him? How are we going to get him the resources he needed to live the quality of life? No books or parent classes could prepare us for the journey that lie ahead. A whole new journey started for me that day, that of an advocate. So I started to educate myself. I got involved in therapy sessions, I read books, I attended conferences, and I got involved in my community. I knew that I had to start becoming knowledgeable about Down syndrome and the stigma that came with that diagnosis. I needed to understand not only for myself as a mother of a child with special needs, but I needed to understand that for my son so he could have a normal of a childhood as possible. I needed to make others understand, just like the little girl with Down syndrome that I saw on TV the other day, Down syndrome is not so scary. So I started to speak at schools because my husband and I felt that it was important for my son's peers to understand about Down syndrome. But so they could feel comfortable with him as they got to know him and develop friendships with him. I explained to them that although he may look and talk differently than you, we are all different and beautiful in all different ways. That being accepting of others' differences is what makes this world a much better place to be. I would ask my son to help me start off the presentations by telling everybody that he has Down syndrome. I felt it was important that he understood his diagnosis, so one day he could advocate for himself. So why is it important to share your voice? So typical peers get a greater understanding and empathy for their peers with disabilities or differences. Because with this knowledge, it helps to foster friendships, both outside the school and on the playground as well. Because advocacy opens the door to belonging to and becoming a member of the community. Because your voice becomes their voice. Inclusion is belonging to a community. Perceptions are dissolved and acceptances take forefront. So I leave you tonight with this quote. A community that learns together excels together. We need to form communities that work together. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been so receptive of my son and of our family. He has had such a wonderful time here in the schools, outside in the community, being part of sports and the extracurricular activities. So I do want to say thank you because we've only been here for 2 years, and coming here, especially his family, you never know what you're going to get when you walk into the community. But I do want to say thank you because Hopkinton has been so welcoming to us. The schools have been wonderful, the organizations have been wonderful, and friendships have been fantastic. So I want to say thank you.
Relatively new member of Hopkinton for Hopkinton Standards. I've been here almost 4 years this summer. And I come from the perspective of having really little kids, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, both boys. So my 4-year-old will hopefully be in elementary school or kindergarten in 2018. I'm also a member of the Hopkinton Diversity and Cultural Alliance with Timoria. And we kind of got together after we put together a letter writing campaign to support the Muslim and refugee community and also our soldiers overseas a couple months ago. I felt like we had to do something within the community to reach out, and that was a great event. What was even more special was the next day, Tamari and I went to the mosque in Hopkinton and gave the letters out, and actually it was a wonderful experience because they welcomed us with open arms, and we were able to attend part of their service and eat lunch and really learn many things that I had no idea about the Muslim faith and the various communities that mosque pulls from. So it was a great experience. It really opened my eyes about kind of the steps that I should be taking as a parent of very young children to start early and often about fostering the value of diversity and empathy and the key point for me is I read just a random statistic today that from a study that up to 75% of white families in this particular study never talked about race or diversity with their kids. Probably a sign of privilege in itself and not really have, depending on where you live, having to address those issues. And that was kind of shocking to me. And I think, in this climate especially, it's not something that we should ignore with our children, and it can start very young, just very age appropriate, and that's something that I think we all need to start with our kids very early on, and I'm sure it's addressed in our wonderful school system, but as Iman said, it starts at home, and it starts with parents really being inclusive and talking about these issues, so, you know, we're not in a little bubble. You know, and also thinking about how I can be, and my family can be an ally, you know, when we come across difficult issues or things happen that, you know, make other families feel uncomfortable or, you know, even attacked lately, is, I think, a really important role is to just listen, support, and be there and show up, and just pay attention to how you can help by just listening and lending other people your support for their voices to be heard. And I think that, you know, another important point which can be kind of uncomfortable is that, you know, as the majority in any situation, whether it's racial or ability or gender identity or sexuality, you know, as a member of the majority community, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you have to examine yourself and your own prejudices, whether they're overt or kind of there and you didn't realize they were there until you had a funny feeling about something, and not become defensive. But I think that's a really important role as an ally of all communities to have. And as basically going based on what Iman said is get out there, do things. Don't just ignore and go along in your normal daily life. It's really important to engage. And I know as a mother of young kids, that's what I plan on doing. And I had posted an article a few days ago on a Facebook page about a business class at Harvard Business School where they're focusing on case studies of members of the Black business community who are really successful, and I guess in the past they've only focused on successful white people stories. So this is apparently a brand new course that Harvard has decided to pick up on, but something that is amazing to me that just has started. And one of the professors made a simple point in there that it's not just for, also obviously very important for people of color to see role models and success stories, but for those white students is to exposure matters. For whatever biases they picked up from the media or just in their communities along the way, when they're exposed to these stories, they think, hey, you know, all these preconceived notions on my behalf start to fall away. You start to develop empathy and have personal connections, and that's all really important. You know, not just speaking, but you know, walking the walk. So I guess that's my perspective from the applicants, and you know, so glad to see some of you, and I recognize a lot of you from the last event. So.
Good evening. I wanted to first thank Timoria and other members here for inviting me to speak. My name is Asha Sharon. I guess I'm a pseudo-Hopkintonian. I've been in town for 18 years. I have two kids who, one has graduated from the school system and is in college, and my youngest is about to graduate. So I'm coming with a little bit of a different perspective. I started in this town, and like Mom was saying, there were very few families of color, and so it was an interesting perspective when we moved, but we were welcomed, and I really was appreciative of our neighborhood and the friends we've made over these many years. Just a little bit of a background for me. I'm an optometrist and I practice locally in Southborough, and I also have an opportunity to work with different families in my practice from surrounding towns. Some of the towns have families that are on government assistance. They don't have a lot of resources. Other families have other issues that they bring and they have concerns with. So I am aware of different backgrounds and the opportunities that we can provide and we hope to provide with this forum. One of the perspectives also has to do with my own personal history. I was born in Boston. My family was from India. And we lived in Boston for a number of years, and then we moved to a community outside of Boston, which was about 99% white. And I was probably the only child in elementary school and through junior high school of color. So I had the opportunity, I guess, or experience of going through school without any peers or people who looked like me. I was also, my brother and I were also the recipients of, unfortunately, very negative, racist words and sometimes been attacks to our family. So something that really sticks with me is the lack of support that we have in the school system. And that's why I feel it's very important that any kid who feels like they don't have support should be able to find it, whether it's because of their race or their religion, their ethnicity, their orientation, whatever their presence brings. So I really feel honored that I'm invited to be part of this forum so I can bring my perspective and I hope my support to the families that need it. The important points here also has to do with what Natalie said. If you don't have friends or family members that fall into these so-called minority categories, I think it's important that you speak up when you hear or experience or see things that you know just are wrong. And that's where we need these very strong associations in town with different types of people. This also gives us a unique opportunity to have these relationships, to form these bonds, because we can't do it alone. We need to support each other and especially our children. Thank you very much.
Hi, I do not live in Hopkinton, but I teach in Hopkinton. And I'm also the leader of the advisor for the GSA, which is the Gay Straight Alliance. And over the past 15 years that I've been here, the culture has changed quite a bit and in a positive way. And so I am talking to Evan Bishop about this forum. We thought it would be interesting if we actually had a student who's been through the system and has experienced the change in culture and acceptance and could give you kind of a finger on the pulse of what it is like to be a student at Hopkinton. And this is my dear friend Caroline Goodwin, who is the president of our GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, and I would like to invite her to come up and kind of tell you what it's like. Because it's good. It's good. We just did the day of silence. We had the day of silence right before vacation, and we had over 100 students participate, and teachers, and actually John, the other co-president, and Caroline came and spoke to the faculty. I teach public speaking. I had numerous conversations with students who were genuinely curious about what was it, where did it come from, why are we doing it? And so going back to the education piece, I do think that as an adult, I am continually responsible for opening the eyes of my students and exposing them to things that they don't necessarily get to experience on a daily basis. I'm not forcing it down their throat. I'm just saying, here is another way of looking at things. And it's a fabulous place to work, and these are great kids, but what you all are doing here in being proactive and anticipating how to deal with issues as the community becomes more diverse is really credible. And that's one of the reasons I felt driven to be here. Because even though, like I said, I don't live here, I feel as though I'm a part of this community. So Caroline, go ahead.
Hi, as Valerie said, I'm Caroline, a senior, and I first moved to Hopkinton when I was in 7th grade. I didn't really know a lot about the town. I moved from Needham, which is a town right next to Boston, very liberal, a lot of diverse people, and so I came in kind of expecting the same thing, and I did not face the same thing. I can say simply, it was mostly people who were white, people who were Christian. It was a very homogenous community. But then over the years, I have to say, I'm very happy to say that things have become so diverse, that the student body has come from being so uncomfortable about talking about things as simple as, oh, someone of a different religion, to being able to talk to someone about their gender identity, about their sexual orientation, about a variety of other things relating to that topic. And so when I first came in 7th grade, I was expecting a more liberal community, and then I found, and I was immediately also adopted into a friend group, literally. I went to lunch one day, someone recognized me from their advisory and said, "You're gonna sit here with us, you're our new friend," and word for word, that's what she said. And I just sat down, I was adopted into the community. And I was very happy to be brought into the drama program, which I still love to be involved in this day. I'm not necessarily an avid actor, but I like to be participating.
She's really good backstage.
Yeah, I got a headset last time, guys. It was really great. And so when I started to get involved in drama, I noticed some things about the community that surprised me and shocked me, genuinely. A lot of my friends who were participating in drama were immediately assigned with the stereotype of being gay. And I saw them be attacked verbally. I heard accounts of people being attacked physically, people being ostracized, people being shunned, and it completely disgusted me. I had met so many wonderful people here in Hopkinton, and yet these hateful things were still seeping through. So I tried to be an advocate as much as I possibly could in the middle school, which of course meant usually yelling at people across the classroom or something like that, really, making a great first impression. And but then when I came into the high school, I was really excited, and all my friends were excited because there was a GSA. And so students that did identify as LGBT and students that were allies were able to go into a community where we assumed like there were going to be all these people that were going to tell us how great it is here. And we walked in and there was about 10 people. And I was shocked, and I found out while talking to some of the students that many of the LGBT students in Hopkinton High School didn't want to come to GSA because they knew that they would be alienated. They would be targeted, that people would say, oh, so they're in that crowd. And this, again, made me feel very sad, but still, we had a community, we did activities, we had discussions. Even if there were 3 people in the club that day, the president, co-president, all them would make sure that everyone felt comfortable. And so in 10th grade, I then moved into being the vice president of the club. And it was an amazing experience, like first coming into the meeting and guiding discussions and planning activities and all stuff. And then as I worked in the club, I was then asked by a wellness teacher to come into the classrooms to talk to the wellness classroom specifically, to talk about sexual orientation and gender identity and all different LGBT topics, as simple as coming out to how to tell your parents to a variety of other things. And I'm happy to say this is my 3rd year that I did it. It's been a really great experience, and I'm very thankful for the wellness teachers to being such great mentors and being so supportive. But through this experience that I've had in the high school, I've been able to see a community that I thought was very conservative, not just conservative, it was just very isolating. That you have this cookie cutter image of who you're supposed to be and you can't go outside of that. And now you walk around the school and you feel much more open. You feel much more likely to talk to people. That like if a student has a boyfriend or a girlfriend or is trans or something like that, they're much more likely to share those aspects about themselves. And it's been amazing. John and I, the other co-president and I, we talk to each other sometimes after GSA meetings going, wow, how did this happen? Because we've been watching all these people change in our own grade that we didn't know were so open-minded, that could change their opinions, become such great allies. So that's my experience in the high school. It's been a really amazing time, and I don't know how I'm gonna say goodbye when it comes to June.
Okay, you can stay. Anyway, a lot of it has to do with how committed to this issue the administration is at the high school, And we've also reached out, and I've had the GSA at the high schools connected with the GSA at the middle school. I think that in middle school it's a lot more difficult. Kids are tending to be, they're in that power-hungry kind of clicky mode. So we sometimes have the middle school GSA kids come over to the meetings. It's been the student body itself has just kind of opened up. A lot of it has to do with media. These kind of issues are in the media now more. Also, we live in a very liberal state in terms of, comparatively speaking. And I think that young people like the idea of being open and accepting. I really think they like the idea that, they may see or hear about other people that aren't, and they don't want to be that person. And that's not to say that those things aren't happening. They are. But it's not as overt as it used to be. It used to be a real problem, and now there's a morphing. And I think that if the community comes together and expresses support for kids who are different than that cookie cutter image that was certainly present when I got here 15 years ago, then this place is a great place. This place would be an awesome place, and you can be a role model for other communities that are going to be going through this. And a lot of communities, when diversity, comes in, they get all scared because people are afraid of what they don't know. But as soon as you know it, you realize there's nothing to be afraid of. And so what you guys are doing is really awesome.
Hi, I'm Meg Tyler, and I have lived in Hopkinton for 12 years. We moved here when my daughter was 10. We had been in Cambridge until that time. And I now have an 8-year-old son who is in the Elmwood School, which is a mighty wonderful place, and a 22-year-old who's still living at home. Please take her. So I'm really grateful to Timoria, and I'm grateful to all of you for sharing your vulnerabilities with us, because it seems to me that's when we can start having a really honest conversation. So I will talk about mine, which are singular but also universal. My son has autism. He was diagnosed right before he turned 3. And we were devastated by the diagnosis because the doctor said he may never speak, he may never be able to function like other kids. And so he got heaps of therapy, and the school system here has been very supportive. He's got a wonderful team of specialists at the Elmwood. And Otto is a lovely little boy. He's very gentle in his temperament, he's sweet. He speaks a little more slowly than other kids, and he processes things more slowly, so he doesn't have the same kind of lickety-split cognitive speed of most 8-year-olds. And that causes him some distress, because when he tries to speak to other children, he repeats phrases as he's trying to gain momentum to get to the point, and they cut right in there and say, "What?" or they walk away. And I watch this time and time again, and I wonder about the accumulation of these instances on Otto and his willingness to keep speaking and to keep trying to communicate with people who continually interrupt him or walk away. And in his classroom, he's not able to learn all the names of the other kids. We've tried a lot of different techniques, but I think it's, again, some kind of auditory processing problem he has. And so the other kids don't warm up to him because he can't remember their name. But what I do remember from having a little girl in the Cambridge school is that we went to birthday parties every weekend. Every weekend in Cambridge we went to parties. We have not been invited to one in 2 years, except for Timoria invited us 2 weeks ago, and it was great. And I wonder how you broach something like this, because Otto's deficits are not immediately visible. And so how do I become a spokesperson for him without fearing that I'm somehow preparing people to judge him negatively? When I say, my son has autism, invite him to your birthday parties, he won't bite, he won't kick your children. I don't want to negatively inspire people to think poorly of him or to expect less of him. And so this is my conundrum. I have this charming, wonderful little boy who's not developing friendships because he's not being invited into the social arena. He is not being given opportunities to learn how to interact with kids in a loose, free-flowing environment. And that's not right. And we go to a lot of, am I talking too much? Okay. We go to a lot of IEP meetings, and again, really appreciate how supportive Hopkinton has been. But we talk the entire time about what Otto can do and what we can do. And I'm thinking, well, what about the other kids? Should they not be taught to be patient with my child and to cultivate patience and to cultivate understanding and to be taught directly by their parents? That even though he doesn't have a broken limb, he seems to have a little, fixture problem in his brain, and so you have to be patient with him. And I don't want this to sound like a gripe. I'm just, walking to the high school tonight, I thought, how are we going to make it all the way to high school? Are we going to have play dates? Are we going to have friends? Or, my husband and I are absolutely happy being Otto's friend forever. But that gets a little weird, right? After a certain stage. So I just wanted to speak with the community about educating people who are not special needs parents, or who feel awkward about the subject. I don't want to say, why haven't you invited us to your birthday parties? But I want to say that too. Why haven't you invited us to your birthday parties? Otto would really like to come. Thank you.
It was such a special story. I want to thank the group, Tamoria, Dr. McLeod. Thank you for having me here. I was just very lucky to be brought up in a very diverse yet inclusive family. Diversity, we hear that word a lot today. We hear people attempting to define it, trying to live by it. Every day from these television screens, computers, from our smartphones, we cling to it if our life depended upon it. We're provided checklists from which to see if we measure up. Any number of outside voices telling us who and what we ought to be. These voices are valuable, but we also must listen to the voices inside of us, an extension from our own hearts. Every day I welcome new thoughts and innovative ideas and challenges that come from this acceptance. As many of you know, I'm a proud Roman Catholic. I live in a strictly Jewish home, but I studied Buddhism. I never saw that one coming, yet I should have, because I had significant role models growing up. I grew up in a busy home with a younger brother, 3 older sisters, a mother and a grandmother. My father volunteered most of his life teaching English and American history to people that wanted to become citizens. He proudly watched over 3,500 of them get sworn in. I grew up with people who led by example. The women in my family were all very, very strong, and both intellectually and spiritually. I admired those traits, which I found again when I married my wife, Brenda. Many of you know her. She's delivered many of the babies here in Hopkinton. Our daughters grew up with an extended family that was built upon a foundation of inclusivity and openness. We are the sum of our many differences and dimensions: white, black, male, female, LGBTQ, Christian, and Jewish. We're students, we're laborers, we're teachers, we're MDs. Isabel and Mia had parents of different political parties, a father who's a Shriner and a Freemason, a member of NOW, the ACLU, and Judicial Watch. I believe that each of these organizations is trying to make the world better on their own. Often they operate from different sides of the same coin, but they share the same currency. Trying to make the community a better place in which to live. It was this perspective when I employed one acting as chairman of ZAC for the past several years. I kept a variety of thinkers close, keeping an open mind, presuming that everybody's trying to do good, and that we can meet them in the middle of the road to solve any problems working around and through the edges. I think of my good friend Sandy when I say, if we respect what's in another's heart, how can you not trust the good that they're capable of? My wife and my girls My friends, my family allowed me to meet the community of Hopkinton better prepared and more resolute, and more cognizant of its needs. I find I belong to some very diverse and diametrically opposed or philosophically speaking organizations. The result that I move makes me move more efficiently through the rhetoric. I get to all the substance and all the good that each organization and group and individual is trying to accomplish. It is this that Hopkinton brings to my family and me, and is this what I'd like to return to Hopkinton in the future. Thank you very much for having me, because I love talking about my family. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Abby Rosenberg. I'm sorry, I'm the only one. I saved myself for last because I'm the only one that did not come with any notes. I thought this was going to be just like a little question and answer thing. So Denise asked me to come as a Jewish family in Hopkinton. We moved, my husband and I have two high schoolers. We moved here 15 years ago. And I really appreciated hearing everyone's stories. I feel like everyone had some really important things to say. I agree that there's been a real culture shift here. I think that just to share a real quick story, when I first came here, I didn't know there was not much of a Jewish community. And I think the only challenge in that has really just been that you can't practice your faith within the community. You need to go outside to do that, which has not been that big of a deal, but our family has found so many other aspects of community here in Hopkinton that have been awesome. But a quick story, when my kids were smaller, a parent came up to me and said, you know, very seriously, I have to ask you a really important question. And I said, okay. And she said, what should I tell my son about your kids not going to hell because you don't believe in Jesus? And I was floored. I was like, wow. Did she really ask me that? But it was not of malintention at all. It was really a lack of knowledge. And I guess I've not had any issues with being Jewish in this town myself. I don't know if others have, but I think that, you know, the bottom line to me is just that my hope is that we all really are just trying to be respectful, trying to be good people, trying to be able to figure out that we're all different, but that differences can bring good to the table. And that really, you know, I hope that we can all teach our kids, because I do think it comes from the home, that we can teach our kids just to really just try and be the best version of themselves, and to really just understand that everyone's different. And that's a good thing. So that's really all I have to say.